All right, let's start. What's up, Blueprint family? How you doing tonight? Thank you for joining us. So we had ended last night's topics with some great questions, and we wanted to go ahead and roll that over in today. And those questions dealt with: Are you in an on and off relationship?
And what to do?
Yeah, and what to do about it? So we um wanted to address those type of relationships. This is something I actually wanted to talk about for a while, to be honest with you, because a lot of people find themselves into relationships where um their boyfriend and girlfriend, they break up, they get back together, go mess with other people, then get back together again, have a situationship or whatever the case may be. And the thing is, you have to be smarter about these types of relationships and think about your self-worth, think about your time, your effort, and what you're doing. And overall, what is the goal here? Like, why we keep doing this, playing these games, you may say. Now understand that um these type of relationships can often be just for convenience or sex, to be honest with you. And one person in this type of relationship may just want to hold on to what they got in this person and trying to make this person being in a relationship with them often at times. And that is where the on and off again situation occurs. You know,
Mhm.
one person is in this relationship trying to maintain this relationship, more so trying to maintain the attention of the other person and their time. But in reality, this person is dealing with someone else or multiple other people. This is not a committed relationship. Um, by far it is. It's not. It's
Yeah.
not a committed relationship at all. So we wanted to just dig and dive right into it tonight and talk deeply about these situations because this is something that a lot of people really need to think about. You
Mhm.
know, whether think about your self worth. Like I said earlier, dealing with these type of relationships, think about what you're getting yourself into and whether you want to really be in these type of situations.
Yep. And believe it or not, they're very common though,
Hmm.
especially in this day and age. It seems like now more than ever, the main common denominator with a lot of these relationships is the lack of stability. Because ultimately, like we talked about yesterday in our live stream, we talked about the phases and or stages that all successful relationships go through. And so we talked about this from courtship, the getting to know you stage, all the way into the stability stage, the long-term commitment stability stage, right? So the thing that on and off again relationships never make it to is that long-term stability. So they're often very unstable, usually either one person or maybe even both people for multiple reasons. Maybe fear of commitment. We'll dive into a lot of these, as we go on, but it's a lot of reasons within our society where it seems to be this instability, then that comfort with instability. You're okay with having these fly by night relationships and not really, you sleep with them, call them up, sleep with them, and then be done with them.
Right. And then I'm going to, bring this topic up again, or this word again, risk management.
Hmm.
You're not doing a good job managing risks being in these type of situations. Often at times someone these type of situations can bear children in them.
Hmm.
And if I'm always um stand on the principle that if you don't want to have children with the people that you're sleeping with, then stop sleeping with them because that's always a possibility. I'm just being real. Guys, especially men out there, um, and women too, because it takes two to make this decision or
Yeah.
to go about it. But be mindful of what you're doing. And I know it's in the heat of the moment at
Right.
times, but
Yeah.
just be mindful that if you don't have a committed relationship, that you're increasing the risk of making challenges and difficulties for yourself in the long run. That are, that can definitely be avoided.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
want to see what that looks like as far as the on and off, again,
Yeah.
relationships, in which they get called, the professional term is called cycling relationships.
Yep, because you go through
So
a cycle.
yep. So
I
you're going through
completely
this endless cycle of make up and break up and make up and break up and make up and break up. So that if you followed us yesterday about the 7 stages,
Well, yeah, roughly 7. Yeah.
7 stages of relationship, the makeup and breakup stage is past the first stage.
Yeah.
You're stuck somewhere between the second and the third stage of
establishing the relationship.
right.
Yeah. Then the
So
commitment. Yeah.
right. And also the euphoric feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Because that's what's
yeah.
keeping you in that relationship, is the fact that you feeling all of this euphoria from this getting back together,
Yeah.
the makeup of the relationship. And then you go through this down withdrawal of these chemicals when you all break up, and then you get back together, and then that euphoria goes back up with all that dopamine and all that all the other chemicals that the brain make.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why it's called a cycling relationship.
Yep. And it involves at least one breakup and renewal.
Right.
And believe it or not, we have done a lot of research on this, and studies have shown that at least 60% of people have at least had one of these. So that means you're in a relationship where you have at least broke up one time with that person and got back with them, right? So that's 60% that have at least had one, and 40% of actual married couples, believe it or not, had actually had a breakup and got back together somewhere along their journey. So it's not something that's unusual. Like we were saying earlier, it's very, very common, but it's important to recognize how to break that cycle so that you can then move the relationship to that long-term stability stage. That is where you're going to reap the most benefits from within your relationship. Now, the first thing that, speaking of that, the first thing that you actually see within on again and off again relationships is that they often report a fluctuation in relationship satisfaction. So you're looking at the studies, and out of all of these cycling relationships, usually more than all of them reported that fluctuation that you were talking about, that you're high and then you drop. You're either extremely satisfied with your partner or you're extremely not satisfied with your partner. And that is really what creates that bad cycle of just going in and out of that relationship. Kind of the constant act of dissolution, the resolution, and then the feelings of uncertainty of whether or not this is going to happen again creates like an anxiety within the relationship that eventually creates more problems in a way.
A dissolution, reconciliation.
Yeah.
Feelings.
Yeah, because think about it, when you dissolve, okay, usually when you're in an on and off again, right? So there's some period where you don't completely dissolve and figure out, all right, we're done. We're not going to do this no more. Or this is what happened. This is the issue. This is what's going on. You usually just say, all right, we're just going to take a break, not do this no more. And then you come back, kind of cover up, mask up the issue, whatever caused y'all to break up, have some type of resolution because you're longing for them loving feelings again. You feeling that withdrawal, and so you're longing for those loving feelings, and then you decide, okay, I'm gonna resolve with this person. But then after you resolve, you got anxiety because you're like, are we gonna go through this again? Remember why we broke up last time? Has that, what's gonna happen? Is it gonna happen again?
Right. Yeah, and then that turns into a trauma bonding in a way, especially if both people are going through anxieties in this relationship because of breaking up and getting back together again. What this relationship exhibits is the lack of trust, lack of loyalty, and dishonesty. To be honest with you, avoid on and off again relationships by all costs. To be honest with you, regardless of whose fault it is on the reason why the breakup occurred in the first place, be mindful that you're going to have to try extra hard the second time around in order to prove yourself worthy of the relationship. Be mindful of that, as opposed to getting into a new relationship with someone else in which you may have to disclose this information.
or even just sticking it out. That's always an option too, because
Right.
a lot of it too is the fear of not knowing how to resolve the issue, not knowing what to do. So then you back out of it and you're like, okay, I can't do this no more. But then you're like, I want to do this, you know? So
Mhm.
just that if you can actually stay in the relationship and then figure out, okay, what's the issue? How can we fix this? Because it keeps coming up and that's why we keep breaking up. So let's actually get to the issue and figure out how can we fix that, you know,
Right.
versus running away. Because then in the long run, you don't have to worry about starting a new relationship or,
Right.
you know, not
But
having the time invested.
I mean, but by all means, please pay attention to red flags, though.
Yes,
Now,
definitely.
because
Yeah.
I say that because a lot of times these on and off again relationships are because someone is not fully vested into the relationship.
Yeah.
They're not. You know, they are creating a relationship and where they are already entertaining, you know, multiple other people. They're sleeping
Mhm.
with other women. Men, you know, guys may do it because they're sleeping with other women. To be honest with you,
Mhm.
that's the truth. They or either they're scared of commitment. Usually what that means for men is that they're
Yeah.
scared of commitment. They don't want to lose the access to sex that they have with other women.
Yeah.
Just to be honest with you, same thing for women. They have access to money from other guys or sex or whatever the case may be, and that's the reason why this on and off again relationship may be occurring. So just pay attention to the red flags, and then if there are multiple red flags and you're not paying attention to them, then you know, pay attention to the patterns of the makeups and breakups and see whether or not it is worth you staying in this relationship.
Yeah.
Now, I'm all for people trying to make it work, get back together, and things like that. But also, too, I'm not for abusive situations and
Yeah.
people wasting their time.
And damaging your self-esteem in the
Right,
long run. Yeah. And
right,
how you feel about yourself. Because if it's hurtful, like you're saying, that's yeah.
and an avoidable trauma as well.
Yeah.
So don't put yourselves in situations to where you're dealing with somebody and it feels like a struggle. It feels like a challenge. This is a
Yeah.
form of struggle love. We talked about that this week about, you know, types of struggle loves and things like that. But on again and off again relationships are by far, like you said, 60% of people have gone through this type of relationship.
Yeah.
Where you just can't figure out whether we're going to be in this or not. But there is something that you do like about this relationship that's keeping you entertained, that's keeping your
Right.
attention on this other person, whether it's their good looks, the time that you all spend together, whether it's the sex and whether it's the money. I don't know what it is, but it's not healthy.
Right.
To be honest with you, it's not healthy at all. It's
Yeah.
not conducive. And then especially if you start having children out of these type of relationships.
Yeah, or
You know.
even get married. In fact, another study that I have wrote down had showed that married couples who had previously cycled, they had found that these couples often reported less confidence in their marriage within the first 5 years of their marriage. And you remember, like we were talking about yesterday, the 5 to 7 year mark is where you kind of hit that crisis stage, right, of your relationship. So it's always this big thing. If you have reached 5 years in a marriage or 7 years in the marriage, or you can get past that, then you've passed that crisis stage, because it's usually that hard time within your marriage that you got to figure out, like, all right, are we going to keep drifting apart or are we going to come back together? And that is shown scientifically in all successful relationships. So the main issue with the on and off again couple is that you're having a hard time getting through that, crisis part. And then if you did get through it in the younger times, you're kind of like trauma connected to it, remembering it, the memories, even if you decide to go forward in the relationship, at least within the 5 years of the future relationship. So,
Right.
yeah.
And then thank you followers out there for joining in as well. If you all have any questions or want to comment, please by all means do so.
Yeah.
And we've
Yeah.
really enjoyed the interaction with our audience. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely agree that you know, this on and off or cycling relationship is different when couples or married people are together as opposed to boyfriend and girlfriend or those situationships. So couples, like you said, it does look different. So you do have those crisis situations or just those bad arguments. This is what they call the on and off again in a marriage relationship. It doesn't have to be so extreme to where someone is separated or leaving the house, or it could be, to be honest with you. But the thing of it is that in these situations, you should try to stick it out, especially if you all have children. find ways to
Mm-hmm.
mend that relationship. By all means, you should, have prevented anything that whatever caused this situation to happen, it should have been prevented. But since you're already in the situation of on and off again inside the marriage, just use those tips that we had provided in the previous videos and talk about how to rekindle your relationship again.
Yeah.
Especially about building trust.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're married and then you all argue, there may be some trust issues, maybe some issues of infidelity that may cause this on and off again type situation, or
Yeah.
maybe just a bad argument or disagreement about something.
Yeah. Some type of deep rooted
Right.
issue. Yeah.
So yeah, you may have that crisis situation
Yeah.
that may occur in your marriage, but you may seem, anxious or have anxiety, maybe feeling like you walking on eggshells. For guys, what this may look like, since it's cyclical, is your wife on her period. Mood swings for a lot of guys. That may be something that you have to understand that is going to happen in a marriage, and then also find ways to communicate about it
Mm-hmm.
and talk about it before things get bad.
Yeah.
Wives, make sure that your husband understand that how you're feeling. You're not feeling well, or you may need some help in order to make it through the day, help with the children or something. And that's a natural, part of life. It just
Yeah.
is, as far as couples.
Mm-hmm.
Women aren't able to provide their all when they're on their monthlies. I know I talk about this often, or said it before, but that also is part of the reasons for the on and off again relationships, not understanding your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Just understand your spouse and communicate when someone needs help.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it takes, to be honest with you, to avoid these type of situations. This
Yeah.
good, proper communication and maintaining trust
Yeah.
in the situation.
In particular, couples, another identifying thing for on and off again relationships is that these couples often have a hard time adopting healthy communication styles and healthy behaviors within the relationship that allows for resolve, right? So usually, like you were saying, that anxiety and the resentment that's kind of built up from constantly having to dissolve and then come back, dissolve and then come back, creates that anxiety. And then you have poor communication, right? So you are less likely to take the time and be kind when you're saying something, or reinforce positive things that you like. Those green light behaviors that we talked about: respect, trust, the healthy communication, honesty, having validation, constructive communication, and criticism. All of that is really hard to do when you're under a state of stress and you're nervous and you're walking on those eggshells. You're less likely to try to communicate that way. So if you can really take the time and figure out, all right, what are some healthier ways that we can go about whatever we're having an issue with, figure out the root causes like you were talking about, and then figure out healthier ways that you can work through these issues, not the run away, don't quit, all these type of things. Now, of course, we are really speaking about those who have decided that they want to have a committed relationship, but they're just struggling with how to get that stability, right? So we're not talking about the ones who are in that one-sided relationship where it is abusive because you're not even getting anything from it. So in a way, it's kind of self-inflicted abuse in a way. So don't stay in those relationships and expect to get something out of it if there has not been a set verbal communication of commitment, so
Right.
definitely don't do that. But yeah, if you are in a committed relationship and you are on and off having these issues and trying to figure it out and work it out, definitely adopt healthier ways, look into healthier ways of communicating and working with each other.
Yep.
That would definitely set you on track more than anything. Yeah. Like
Yep,
you were
most
saying.
definitely.
Yep. Another one, so, of course, I guess we get into this a lot, but childhood traumas, believe it or not, scientifically, there are so many studies on how when you look as a child and you look at your experiences of the relationships that you saw, your parents' relationships, maybe your grandparents or your aunts or your uncles, how they committed within their relationships often determine how you feel about your ability to commit in a relationship and your ability to use healthy communication things and your ability to sustain a relationship long term. Scientifically, the observations of parents' romantic relationships create a model that they can apply to their adult relationships. So, research indicates that if these adults of parents who were divorced, they are less confident in their ability to maintain a long-term marriage, and they're even more fearful that as a result, they cannot accurately be able to produce healthier ways of having a healthy relationship and sustaining it long term. So really take a look at your own childhood beliefs and the ideologies you've adopted and behaviors that you have adopted, and even belief systems that you have adopted around commitment and whether or not you can do it yourself, or if it's something that you even value within yourself.
Right. Well, yeah, most definitely. So, I mean, I think that a lot of those, there are multiple reasons why people are in on and off relationships, and yeah, I mean, definitely, childhood traumas can definitely play a part in it. Why you don't want to make a commitment, or you fear that commitment because your parents didn't make it through that commitment. Multiple reasons. I mean, I can name hundreds of them.
Yeah.
You don't want to give up your lifestyle, the current lifestyle. You don't want someone telling you what to do, or whatever the case may be. But at the same token, you should be very thoroughly honest when you are in a relationship with somebody or you're dealing with somebody. That's the bottom line. Lay down expectations from the first month. Within the first month, the introductory portion of the relationship, so that no one is sidelined with, oh, I thought we were on to something. Don't play with people's emotions, their time, and their feelings.
Right.
Dealing with relationships and trying to build relationships.
And have those hard conversations. Like you're saying, you have those hard conversations about your childhood and what that looked like, and have them early, really early, especially if you have some issues with it. Like, be upfront and open and honest about it. That is a green light behavior in a relationship that's going to help you be able to move forward, especially if there's somebody that you are interested in, and you are interested in saying, hey, I know my parents may not have done it, my grandparents, maybe nobody in my family have done it, but it can be done. There are examples out here of successful relationships and successful couples and people that have adopted successful behaviors, and I can do those as well. Everybody has that ability. It's really all a choice on whether or not you're going to operate out of fear or if you're going to operate out of love. And love and fear are two totally different vibrations. They just do not align. So if you're fearful about anything, especially when it comes to a relationship, somewhere you are then blocking off love from coming into your life, because it can't happen at the same time. It's just not the same.
Right. I've heard women say that they're I'm gonna enter this marriage anyway, and this is gonna end in divorce. Stop getting into relationships with the impression of fear
and failure,
lack, and scarcity. Stop that.
And failure.
Because,
add that in
right,
there.
And failure, because ultimately that's what's going to happen is failure. So you're inviting that type of energy into the relationship, and honestly is doomed from the start, because you're not approaching the relationship in the positive attitude to keep it going. So your attitude may actually be prohibiting the relationship from growing. So think about that, men and women, both of you. So date with intention of actually having a positive growth and growing relationship, as opposed to being in a relationship and saying that, oh, this isn't going to work out. You self-sabotage the situation from beginning. So
or even just generalizing thoughts like all men cheat, or all women cheat, or all men ain't ish. Like those thoughts too, those beliefs and those behaviors do materialize into where your mind will actually be, instead of looking for confirmation that men don't cheat and men are great, your mind is looking for more confirmation of men ain't shit, men do cheat, and all those other, because that's just what your focus is on, and it will result that way, especially within an on and off again relationship, because if you have naturally these anxieties, you're just going to keep building on them and building on them and building on them. It's going to keep happening. So
and it causes what happens, it cascades into different behaviors. Now you're not trusting the person you're with, even though they may have not showed you any signs of distrust. And then you're always, you want to get get in their phones, get in their personal lives,
being jealous.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially if you all don't have a committed relationship. You know, this is where a lot of those relationships fall apart within those first couple of months because someone gets over anxious in their fears of this relationship, feeling like this relationship is turning into nothing. So, and then you start doing crazy things like, you know, trying to get into someone's phone and get into their personal life and pry and try to find the negative as opposed to enjoying the positive of the relationship.
Yeah.
So
it's like self-sabotage if you kind of think about it, like, or relationship self-sabotage in a way, because you're just like not allowing it to grow because you're just intentionally kind of having behaviors that just inhibit it, like you were saying. So yeah, that's a big one. Another similarity kind of that goes right along with this one is the fact that on and off again couples often have distorted perception and unrealistic beliefs within their individual minds, right? So we're talking about the two individuals within this relationship. They often have their own thoughts about how a relationship is going to go and have not communicated these things, or even just ideologies of like love is supposed to be easy and I don't have to do anything or work for it. And commonly that is how you get into that.
That should be one of those marriage myths that we talked about.
That you don't have to do nothing at all. It's no work and love's supposed to be easy. Oh, if we fighting, oh, this ain't love. Is this, you know, I'm not supposed to have to do anything or argue or anything like that. Nah, like love is actually putting in work to keep a relationship together. And there's nothing in this world that you could possibly do that isn't going to require some type of work to maintain it and sustain it and get it to its beautiful growth stage. Like it requires that.
Yeah, I wanted to digress a little bit and go back on that third one about the underlying fears.
Oh yeah,
because that all, I mean, it ties into this one too. People who like to run away from situations or challenges in relationships, that can also be one of the reasons why you're experiencing on and off again, and that may be a childhood trauma situation to where you may be in a relationship with somebody and when things get bad they go ghost. They ghost you.
Why? They saw that
and they can't get in touch with you, or you know, they just want to avoid arguments altogether, as opposed to communicate through them to negotiating and resolving. That those are red flags in which people, the ghoster needs to get some sort of help, and talk about those issues on why they feel that way, because you know that draws back into anxiety, not wanting to confront challenges, hard situations, and not wanting to, you know, be there to resolve them. So that is a red flag. And if you're in these type of situations and you're noticing that, you really need to try to have a conversation with that person. That's trying to flee when things get hard.
And if you're the fleer, go to therapy and have that conversation with yourself. I would say good. And I say have a therapist there because it's kind of hard for you to be able to point out your own
problems.
Issues. You won't really be able to recognize it. But if you're having that open dialogue, that conversation, then the therapist will be able to pick up on, hey, this is a thought pattern that you kind of keep throwing in. It's, you know, not really healthy. Let's figure out why you keep throwing this thought pattern in type thing. So or what the fear is, what's the issue that's going on, because usually, like we kind of mentioned, with this rise in unstable homes that commonly go on, what was it, the numbers, how many kids are growing unstable homes? I think it's like
64% of children are born in single parent households,
something like that now. Well, nonetheless, that is a huge number. So that is
60
half and half. We're half growing up with these examples in the household, and hopefully they're positive examples, and then the other half is not even having the example in the household. So often this will create an insecurity. I mean, me and you grew up in single parent households. I don't know about anybody else out there, but if you grew up in a single parent household, you can relate to the slight insecurity and the void of something missing, or not feeling like inadequate in some way because it's not all there. Like we all had that feeling at some point. So this will translate into some type of fear, as whether, like you said, you didn't see healthy resolution, so you run away, or you commonly seen bad resolution, somebody yelling or calling names, screaming, all types of unhealthy behaviors that you
Right. Or
adopt.
either you
Yeah.
just have poor communication skills.
Yeah.
And
And
you
you're
just
scared. Yeah.
well, not just scared, like, just I don't have time. They just
Oh,
brush it off.
yeah.
There's people
Yeah.
that just
Yeah.
avoid and they don't consider other people's feelings and they are not empathetic
Mm-hmm.
to the situation. So
Because they were hurt themselves
right,
down the line. Yeah.
right. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, those are
Yeah.
things to be mindful of. So those are some red flags and challenges to work through.
Yeah.
Dealing with communication and avoiding these on and off again relationships only leads to more of them,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. So that type of behavior is only enabling these type of bad relationships.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
don't want to be in those.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we talk about realistic beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, by all means, thinking that a relationship is always lovely
Mm-hmm.
or always going to go your way
Mm-hmm.
is by far a myth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think when we first got married, I think that that was one of my expectations, to be honest with you, that you know love is always being happy in your marriage,
Yeah.
and that is not true. And what I realize is that you get stronger through your conflict resolution
Mm-hmm.
skills and communication
Mm-hmm.
and being mindful of how well you did the last argument and carrying that to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're going to find out is that you're going to argue, your arguments are going to be shorter
Mm-hmm.
and shorter and shorter. And then they just, they're real quick and they keep going away as opposed to holding grudges.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in the
Yeah.
type of, if you cross that bridge and you're thinking that, oh, well, relationships are always about, red roses and,
Mm-hmm.
daisy fields and all this happy stuff.
Yeah, the euphoria
Yeah, the
feeling. Yeah.
euphoria feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And when that goes away, and then you start being in a real normal situation, normal relationship where you do often
Yeah.
at times once in a while fuss and fight, that's when you hone your skills of communication. You don't
Yeah.
run from that. You just get better at it.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do every day, is to get better at what you do. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to say that you need to, that it's healthy that, to argue every day.
Right.
By all
Yeah.
means, no. No, not at all. But what you all need to do is learn how to communicate better,
Mm-hmm.
how to express your feelings better instead of lashing out into arguments, and learn to negotiate into a resolve.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I think a lot of couples don't do, and they end in irreconcilable differences because they don't know how to negotiate.
Yeah.
So what happens is that it's called divorce.
Mm-hmm.
You hire a lawyer to negotiate for you. You're paying tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
That is your punishment and penalty for not learning how to properly communicate in your marriage.
Right.
That's what that ultimately turns into, and that's what it looks like.
Yeah, and for single people, that is an awesome point, because for single people, what that turns into is you quickly looking at your other options, right? So
Right.
you quickly are then, I got these options over here. This is going on too much. I don't feel like dealing with this. I'm gonna go to this one. And then you realize when you go to that one, it's the same issue because you didn't tackle the communication issue. And then you'd be like, okay, well, let me go to the next one.
What do you
Let me
mean
go to
by
the next
options?
Well, you see what else, if they're single, they're like,
You mean
okay,
other people. Right.
yeah, other people. Yeah, versus wanting to like work in that relationship because you're single. So you're just like, this ain't working out. It's supposed to be easy. This ain't easy. So I'm about to hop ship and go see what the next one's doing. Especially if you have a lot of other options, then you're just hopping around and not really, you think that it's the other person that may be the problem, but in reality, it may be you, and not wanting to look in and seeing, how am I, kind of what goes back to when we were talking about looking at red flags and monitoring how your last breakup and what was the cause of it, maybe, and how you can then mitigate that situation so that that breakup doesn't happen with your next relationship. So you just really have to make sure that if you are in one of those perpetual on and off cycles, what's the little issue that's not being resolved, or what's the common denominator in all these situations? If it's you, then that's something that you need to turn within and look at,
Right.
And that's okay. That's growth. That self-awareness creates growth and creates change, and that creates a better you and better outcomes for yourself. And that's really what it's all about. So never fear that change or fear that growth. You fear being stagnant. Fear never changing. Fear never having to grow and learn new things and adopting new habits and beliefs and behaviors. Fear that, because that is where you it.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
it.
I like that how you touched on that. Because a lot of these on and off again relationships are happening because immaturity. And we talked about maturity
Yeah.
about a week ago, I think. And you're getting into, look at who you're with. Are they
Mhm.
showing signs of maturity
Yeah.
in this relationship? On and off again, people are not mature enough to
Right.
stay into the relationship.
Mhm.
Either that or they have some sort of trauma that they're working through or
Mm.
not working through at all, and
Mhm.
are just trying to avoid
Right.
the bad parts of the relationship, and then they come back to it.
Right.
So the immaturity part could be that you're dating someone and you all in this on and off again, and they're actually, like I said before, are dating other people too.
Mhm.
So that's where you're going to have those issues.
Yeah.
um
Establish that
and
commitment.
then you're having that
Mhm.
unrealistic belief that you can change this person,
Right. Yep. That's a good one. Yep.
that you can change this person. I'm gonna make this person mine.
Mhm.
You might have those type of things because you've invested time and money into this person,
Mhm.
and they better act right.
Mhm.
They better act right. And
Mhm.
that's the reason why you don't want to let go of the relationship. I've seen that before.
Mhm.
And that happens more often than not, especially
Yeah.
with men
Mhm.
who live with their spouse, or men who live with their girlfriend rather, and they
Mhm.
move in with their girlfriend and they're paying bills
Yeah.
as opposed to the girlfriend moving in with them. And then just younger guys, who are not fully committed to the institution of marriage, and just
Yeah.
they're living with girlfriend, and they also still playing the field,
Yeah.
playing the field and trying to get all the attention from other women that they possibly can.
Mhm.
So just being immature about your relationship can also lead to hardships and these on and off relationships as well. And
Mhm.
that's a red flag. That's
Yeah.
definitely a red flag. But the
Yeah.
bottom line, you got to hold your uh, spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend accountable
Mhm.
for this relationship. You've all have endured this, crisis in the relationship.
Yeah.
And so you got to hold them accountable of wanting to resolve.
Effort.
You
Yeah.
got to put the
Yep.
effort in to go ahead
Mhm.
and try to resolve this relationship
Yep.
situation, this crisis in the relationship.
Yeah.
Stop the on and off again. There needs to be a discussion about stop separating.
Mhm.
Next time we just can't separate, but we're just going to cool down first, and then come back together and talk about
Mhm.
how we feel, and then
What we think
state
should happen.
facts,
Mhm.
negotiate what we should think. Okay, I'm gonna do this time, and then you do this.
Mhm.
Tell me what you're gonna do. How would you proceed here? And then, okay, we're gonna resolve this, and then see what happens next time.
Mhm.
And then just let it go. Just let it go,
Yeah.
because this is gonna, you're gonna argue on and off again, and it's going to happen. You can't go into a marriage or a relationship thinking that you're never going to argue,
Yeah.
or either that's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
You're going to have arguments. They're going to be small, but like I said before, you practice good communication
Yeah.
and keep it up, because your arguments are going to get shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
And because both of you are practicing good communication skills of identifying the problem,
Mhm.
negotiating, and then resolving.
Yep, yep. I think that is usually they run away because it's a cop out for wanting to not have thoughtful engagement and solutions, because that requires thought and thought is often hard. Like, and I say for some people, like, it can be hard to want to sit there and not get so wrapped up in the emotions and the anger of what's going on and the feelings of whatever you're feeling with your spouse in that time, and be able to step out into the what I often call the higher realm of where the solution is, because you can't have the solution be at the same spot of the problem. So it's going to require you to step out into a different thought realm to where you can think about what are the solutions, like you were saying, that we can do. What can we do better next time? What did you not like this time that I cannot do, and vice versa? Like, let's be thoughtful in how we are going to actively repair and maintain the relationship, because it's not just gonna happen willy-nilly.
Right. Yeah, it's not. You know,
It's not.
are those unrealistic expectations
Mm-hmm.
of marriage
Yeah.
or having a relationship.
Or even you just should know what was one of them. You should know what I what you should know what I want. You should know what
Right,
I desire. Read
right.
my mind.
Read my mind.
That
The
ESP.
ESP.
Yep. Yeah.
That is unrealistic.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
don't do that.
It is. It is. Yeah. That naturally, I think the ESP really comes when you have that connect and you have taken the time to really think about what the mindfulness, you have actively engaged in mindfulness, the thoughtfulness, and then you have piled on all these solutions that you have equipped yourself with throughout the years of your relationship. So that is really where that ESP myth, I kind of think, gets in with marriage, but that doesn't come until you do the work. Like, you have to do the work. The person's just not going to know what you want or need willy-nilly without you having to say anything.
Right.
You really have to communicate.
I mean,
that.
especially if it comes to a task, men,
Yeah.
we like to lay down a game plan, a goal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, when have you seen a football team play football without a coach?
Right.
You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? The coach creates the game plan, and that's the reason why women don't think that men just know it off rip what you want.
Yeah.
In the relationship, we don't. We're not always mindful of that. To be
Right.
honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
so just work with us, help us develop the game plan of what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it's taking care of the kids, you know, what we're doing on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
If there's even something that you need done, if you need extra sleep, want to take a nap,
Mm-hmm.
talk
Whatever
about
it is.
that.
Yeah.
Talk about that, and let your spouse know that, hey, I need to take a break this weekend. Do you mind, cooking breakfast and taking care of the kids and stuff?
Yeah.
Just communicate.
Yeah, and men and women communicate differently, and
Right.
that's one thing that's part of the reason why we established this platform, was to provide the insight and the understanding of how we are different. Like, men, very masculine, very different in the way they communicate, like you were saying, and then the understanding. So women, take that into consideration and the awareness of it. Try to be aware of the fact that men aren't as empathetic and I guess naturally nurturing and aware of what somebody needs like we are as women. That's an innate ability for us as women because we bear children, right? So God gave us that natural feminine ability to kind of read your mind and be like, oh, you're going to need this at this time. Men, on the other hand, are more out in the world. They're physical. They're not as spiritual, innate like we are. They're more physical. So they're out. They're more needing that game plan. This is what I'm going to do. Boom, boom, boom. I'm focused on this. If you need me to do something, let me know how you want it done. The more specific you can be, the better. That's how you resolve with the man. You can't go in with all your emotions and all of that, because he's not going to really hear that so much. All he's going to hear is the nagging of, oh, she's nagging me.
Right.
Yeah, like,
well, what do I need?
Yeah,
Be direct with me.
yeah.
But I mean, I understand that too, and men understand that too. That women often they speak through their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So first they're going to tell you how they feel,
Mm-hmm.
and they probably going to tell you how they feel again, and then again, and then they
in another metaphor. Yeah.
Right, and then they're going to tell you the task.
Right. Yeah.
But women, please don't generalize and assume either.
Yeah.
Don't generalize and say, because I need to tell you this time because you always burn the food or something. You know what I'm saying? Or you always miss this.
Yeah.
So you need to do it better. No, don't talk that way.
Yeah.
Talk as if you're at work and your coworkers, and then but I mean, if you talk like that at work, then you really need some good communication skills.
Yeah.
But talk like that as if you're talking to be respectful. That's it. Bottom line, be respectful. I always say be respectful and professional still in your relationship.
Yeah.
When you talk to your spouse.
Yeah, people, believe it or not, for some reason we have this odd thinking that when you love somebody, oh, I love them, so I don't have to give them that respect. Treat them nice and love them because they love me. No.
Or it's just this mindlessness.
Yeah. That's another cop out of not wanting to put in the work to actually do the healthy behaviors that's going to sustain a relationship. Believe it or not, it is. It's just a cop out, because honestly, we all have to do these things to have healthy communication. And again, I'm so understanding to the fact that if you don't have the role models growing up, if you did not see that growing up, you then have to deliberately, actively seek out healthier ways to communicate. You have to. And if you don't do that, then you won't be able to grow past the default unhealthy behaviors that you took in that, you had no, and you couldn't control that at that time. But what you do have control over is what you then can become aware of and what you can then work to change if you know it is something that needs to be changed. That will completely get rid of the on and off again cycle within a relationship, especially if y'all have established that, all right, we want to do this, we want to be together, right? If that is what you have established. Now, again, I want to point this out, and I keep saying it because it's very important. Make sure you have this established. You are not in an on again, off again relationship if y'all haven't even established commitment. If y'all haven't reached that point where you're past, like we talked about yesterday, you're past that early passion stage, and you have hit that euphoric stage where then the separate identities of individuals now become a us and a we, right? So have that established commitment first, and then you'll be able to take those steps, because if your mind ain't even committed, then
right. Don't fool yourself.
Right.
Understand that if you're dealing with somebody and you all are not both talking about the institution of marriage, I'm talking about marriage. If you all are not committed to each other or trying to become marriage fit,
something substantial,
right? If you all are not working towards that, then you all are basically side people. You're a side chick, you a side dude,
each other
in the relationship. So it probably is safe to understand that somebody is dealing with multiple other people, because I only see you at 10 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning. That type of situation. Understand that is what you're putting yourself through. Nobody's doing that but you. But if you wanting more out of that relationship, good luck. That's all I got to say, because it ain't gonna happen.
That actually too, I didn't actually write that down, but that was one of the studies that I did read. They did point out that oftentimes couples that get in on and off relationships have lower quality options.
Right.
So what they're doing is just trying to stick with, I guess, the one that's the least work and that what's the most convenient.
They're
and
picking
works.
wrong.
Yeah, because they're looking at those they have just lower quality options. So that
they're being lazy.
Yeah, that goes right back into do the work. If you are in an on and off again relationship and you say, hey, I ain't doing this no more, right? Now is the time then to do the work so that you can actively put yourself, one, in a better position to align yourself with what the type of man or woman that you want, and then two, so that you can be more appealing to that. So work on yourself, whether it's your physical appearance or your mental thought patterns, behaviors, whatever it needs to be done, work on that so that then you can better put yourself into a healthier and relationship and better opportunities to meet somebody that will also give you that,
right,
reciprocated love and affection, and, being able to move a relationship to that long-term stability state,
right,
in alignment. Because usually if you have these lower options that aren't thinking about commitment, that's why you're usually aligned with that, not thinking about commitment. So that's why you keep getting in this,
right,
cyclical.
You keep getting into those side chick situations.
When y'all just side chicking each other. That's a good
if you're not, I would say that if you have not discussed dating with intention to marry, within the first month of dealing with that person, it is not, more than likely it is not going to grow. That relationship is going to stay in that on and off cycle. Or you're about to enter an on and off cycle after that first month. So you need to really think about establishing that communication. If that doesn't work, then you need to get an exit strategy going on figure out how you're going to get yourself back together to be in a relationship to find someone. Get yourself back in that status, because you're going to go through some trauma.
Especially if you keep doing that. And then the bottom line, honestly, though, is that you have to find somebody who's willing to put in the effort to make the relationship work. Because all on and off cycles have that bottom line. Somebody's not putting in the effort somewhere to make it work. That's why y'all keep having this cyclical of, oh, things are good, then things are not. Something is causing it to not go good and then continually not go good. And just acknowledge that. Figure out what it is. Have that conversation. If you want to have this relationship, it's time to really sit down and have that conversation. If you're a month in and y'all ain't established what y'all doing, have that conversation. Why y'all wasting time? Like, time is money. We ain't got time for that. Like,
Right.
don't really, especially if you want to have something that's long-term and substantial, the less time that you can waste, the more time you can have figuring out how to get this going, how to make this work. Because you're going to have to do it with somebody, regardless. Anybody you get in a relationship, you're going to have to figure out how to make it work. So just decide if this is the person that you're going to do it with them, and just stop being scared.
Right.
Like,
Well, I mean, you both have to come to a consensus.
right. Yeah, it has to be a
Yeah.
consensus. Yeah, of course, like, definitely have that consensus ready and set up so that y'all know what y'all doing and y'all can set a good game plan, be on one accord. That will prevent a lot of issues in the long run as far as like competing and like not being able to get on, I guess, one game plan so that you can have that long-term stability so that you know what you're building towards. That will really ease your mind with the anxiety and stuff, even if you are coming from a cyclical relationship, right?
Mhm.
We're even one couple, we weren't married, but when we were younger, we broke up and got back together. So we understand the idea of, okay, if you're going to get back into together, something has to change.
Right.
Though when we got back together, we were totally different people. Things had changed. Our thought patterns changed. We went into it with clear direction. We knew what was going next. Boom, 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 and it happened.
Yep, dated with intention.
Yeah, straight after that. So we're not saying that if you are in a cyclical relationship, that's it. No, because we're a product of showing that it can be more than that, but it's going to require the work on both parts, the effort and the acknowledgement on both parts of what needs to be done and how you can move forward.
Right. Get rid of those distractions that kept you distracted in the first place.
Yeah.
And kept you out in the streets.
Side chicking each other.
Right. Get out the streets.
Yeah.
If you really want to be with this person, get out the streets.
Yeah.
And then build that trust back up. Mm-hmm. That's the only way. Give that person all of your attention and commitment, and be serious about who you're dating.
Yeah. So really get actively involved and engaged in the relationship.
That's be sold really on the institution of marriage.
Yeah. And when we say the institution of marriage, that's really adopting the beliefs and the attitudes and the behaviors that need to be done in order to sustain such a long-term commitment. Like, it's things that you have to, and all married people have, especially successfully married people, have come to adopt certain behaviors, certain beliefs, certain things that you just do, especially if you know that you want your relationship to be long-term. So if you are single, be okay with saying, all right, I'm gonna have to drop and switch to this mentality of how I'm going to make a marriage work and be long-term with the person. Because truth be told, our society was set for this. We were supposed to be married in our society. Like, that's just how it is. We're, especially now with the economy and how things are going, when you're wanting to retire and enjoy life in your old age, you're going to need somebody by your side, not only, for the money, but also you want the comfort and the support, when going through life.
The benefit of being married. Married couples live longer than single people who live alone.
Yeah. And mentally and honestly too, I really think I would attribute a lot of that to the mentality and the thought, because it's a thought, mind, body connection with everything. And I'm sure everybody has recognized that somewhere along the line. So when you adopt these healthier thought patterns, healthier beliefs, and the way you carry yourself, you automatically kind of in a way elevate your whole life to where that you're all just being healthier, mind, body, and spirit. So ultimately, that's why you end up living longer. You adopt a healthier lifestyle altogether when you choose to do those things. So yeah, it's work, but it's worth it, and you guys can do it, and especially because it's so common, and the fact that there's enough married people and enough relationships out here that have gotten over such a cyclical issue that it could be, it can be done for sure.
Most definitely.
Take heed to all the things that we have gone over. I think some quick little notes just to leave it in. So if you are in an on and off relationship, the main things that you're going to want to have to do is, one, have those hard conversations. If you're wanting to keep this going, have those hard conversations. Don't be scared. Sit down. take the time to write it out. If you know that you got a little anxiety about it but you do want to make this work, write those things down first. Have that conversation with yourself first, what you expect. Even set the intention while you're writing on how you want the conversation to go. What is it that I wanted to portray? What is even the outcomes that I'm looking to get from this? That's good for just you, because at the end, if you go and you have those conversations and you didn't get these outcomes that you were looking for, that's verbal confirmation for you to know that this probably isn't for me. And maybe I shouldn't be doing this relationship as much as I may want this to work. It's really important for you to get clear on your intentions for yourself first. Then you can know whether or not I am aligning myself with my intentions or if I'm not. So that was one of the other ones. Also, figure out, like you were saying, that was a big one you kept hitting on. Figure out your underlying issues with commitment. If you have any, figure that out. Take the time, have therapy, schedule a consultation with us. Wifeconomics.com. We offer consultations too, where we can sit back and unpack some things, solve problems from a solution-minded perspective versus a problem-focused perspective. Try to see where you can move forward. That's what we're all about. So if you want to schedule a consultation with us, we're here to help with that too. But by all means, take the time to figure out the deep-rooted issues that are keeping you from going on and having a solid, stable commitment with somebody. The last one, work on building fewer fluctuations, right? So if you're on this on again, off again relationship, the main thing that we talked about first go around was the fluctuations, right? So you have your peaks. If you're really, really happy with this person, you're really, really low. Work on getting more peaks of being really, really high, right? Find those activities that you really enjoy doing together. Figure out what they are and do more of them, right? Put yourselves constantly in places where you're able to bring the best out of each other and not get yourselves into situations where it could result into an argument or a drop. Don't trigger each other. Try to really figure out, okay, what are these things that we can do that make us feel good, that keep this love alive, that spark things for us and help us stay on track. Even if you have disagreements and stuff, kind of have like code words, maybe things where you feel like if it's too much, if you're saying too much, if I'm feeling like we're about to go down, I feel like, I'm starting not to like you right now, like code red, figure out something that you can do to stop that before it gets real bad. Figure out where you can peak it out to where it's not too bad and y'all can take a break and then, like you said, come back to it, right? So just try to get yourself not getting into that deep
argument.
Yeah.
A full-blown argument.
Yep. Digging it deeper for yourself than what you can get out of, because it's really hard. The more trauma you build onto somebody, the more you treat somebody poor, the less likely they are to kind of get back out onto that loving side of wanting to make things work with you. So
right, because the whole focus is to resolve.
Yep. So I think, and the last one was to enact more positive behaviors. So that goes right back to what we were saying of adopting the healthy behaviors into your arguments, but also validation, right? Positive behaviors. If you see that your spouse is starting to improve on things that they weren't doing at first, point that out. There is nothing better than feeling acknowledged for the hard work that you're putting in, especially when it comes to changing inner work, right? That's tough work. So be kind, be considerate, and give that validation that, hey, I noticed you didn't yell at me too much last time. You didn't do this last time. I really appreciated that. That's really going to go a long way in showing grace and love and just encouragement for wanting to keep this relationship going when things get tough.
Right. Yeah. It's always great and reassuring to have that encouragement. Especially, I mean, me as a man, I like that. I like to tell me that, hey, you're doing a great job. I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
And same thing for my wife.
Yeah, everybody loves that, and everybody deserves that, right? We all need that going along, and especially if you didn't get it when you were younger, right? It feels good to have a spouse and somebody to support you, even when you're not your best, and they're still telling you, hey, good job doing that. I've seen that. I see you. I understand it, and I'm here for you. That's what love really is. Love isn't that fear of being hurt, that fear of things going wrong. Love isn't that fear and that anxiety of it's not going to work out, or I don't know how to do this. That's not even love. Love is stepping into the I'm gonna figure this out. We're
Mhm.
gonna do this. Like, it's okay. Like, I can figure this out. A solution is out here. I know a solution is out here. Other people have gone through it too. Like, try to get your mind to stay into the more positive light of things are gonna be okay, right? Yeah. That's all I got.
So that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you followers for coming out tonight. Appreciate it. And we will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow night, 8:30, same time, same place.
Yes. Is
Peace.
it Friday?
Yep. Tomorrow's Marriage Fit Friday.
Yay! Marriage Fit Friday. Hope you guys can tune in.
Yep. So you all tune in and share some wins with us, relationship wins and illustrations of marriage fitness.